You are very welcome back to the second season of the Leitrim GAA podcast here on finalwhistle.ie. We have an action-packed show for you today. We're going to hear from the Leitrim manager, Andy Moran, after his side's defeat in their opening league game at the weekend to Cavan in Park Sean McDermott. We'll also hear from the new captain, David Bruen, and his teammate Mark Diffley on their post-match reactions after the game. We'll also be talking to the Leitrim senior ladies manager, Hugh Donnelly, who will be joining us to talk about their upcoming games in the National League. They host Fermanagh in their first game in 10 days' time. But also, you may have missed it, but they actually won the Connacht Intermediate Championship in a very low-key, low-profile affair just before Christmas. We'll chat to him all about that game and how that came about and passed off. Leitrim obviously picking up more silverware. And speaking of silverware, we also beat Mayo to win the Connacht Hurling Shield at senior level. We'll be talking to the new Leitrim hurling captain Martin Feeney about that later in the show. And also, you may have been one of those people wearing your yellow hat proudly on Sunday afternoon in Park Sean McDermott. It definitely helped keep the ears warm on what was an atrocious day weather-wise, but a very uplifting day all the same. We're going to be talking to Eamon Duignan about what exactly that yellow hat means. You've seen it out around the roads and the byways of Leitrim as people were walking their 50 miles, which has helped at the time of going to press 140-odd thousand, expected to rise maybe another notch or two up that ladder in the next couple of weeks. Now, we're going to start the show really, really simply. We're going to get straight into the action in terms of the post-match reaction videos with Andy Moran, David Bruen, and Mark Diffley. Now, we have to apologise. There was a technical issue with our mic, and some of the sound quality is a little bit poor. So apologies about that. We didn't want to disrespect the lads who were so kind to give us their time, particularly David Bruen's interview. There's a little bit of wind interference, so apologies about that, but we will rectify that going forward. All of the other interviews, we're more than happy, no technical problems. But listen, we'll be back to you in just a little while. But here's what Andy Moran and the two lads from the Leitrim senior team had to say after the game in against Cavan on Sunday afternoon in Avonmoney Park Sean McDermott.
What's your initial reaction? I mean, great performance, a lot of heart in it, a lot of physicality, a lot of what people like to see from their county teams. I know the result wasn't what you wanted.
Yeah, you can do my interview there. I think you summed it up. That's where we're at. You can't be but proud of that performance in terms of the energy and the enthusiasm and the tackling and what Bruen, Maguire, Casey, them guys brought to a dipper in the middle of the field. It was just, I thought, brilliant, to be honest with you. It's a pity we didn't take a few of our chances that we had a bit in the first half. I think we had one or two overruns where we could have snuck a goal and got a chance. But all in all, you want to win games, of course you want to win games, but all in all, that performance, I think, you heard the reaction of the Leitrim fans there. I think it's something that Leitrim are looking for, and I think it's something that the team want to do for the supporters as well, give them a team that they're proud of, and I think we went on the right way of doing that today.
Was the day everything, a lot of interest about you taking over? You could see it in the turnout of the Leitrim fans. We haven't had that since Terry's first year. Such a turnout. Was it everything you were expecting?
Yeah, I'm a bit green when it comes to these things, to be honest with you. Some people say, oh, there's cameras here and stuff. I don't kind of see that side of it, until it kind of happens. So yeah, it was brilliant. It was brilliant, and I think the boys got a huge lift off of James Clancy there and Barry McGuiney. I think they both said they're not sure. At half one, they were saying any league game they've ever played for Leitrim, there was never that many people in for the whole game. Never mind at half one, half an hour before the game. So that's great to see. As I've always said, the people in Leitrim don't matter about football. We need to give them something that they want to support, and I think today is the start of that process.
I suppose Cavan's physicality probably on a very heavy pitch, really bad conditions. That physicality, bit of experience they have probably was the difference in the end.
I think they won the game the way they used the wind, and they won the toss and they decided to go against the wind, and that's the reason they did it, because they knew that bit of a class in the second half just to kick over the scores, where we were in the first half rushing one or two bits maybe, and we learned from that as well, both as a management team and as players. I thought some of the frees given to Ray Galligan in the first half were soft. I think by the extreme, particularly one coming in off the stand side here, where it appeared that a Cavan man lost the ball. And all them little edges were vital throughout the game, and we had a few altercations there, but it was good fun,
It's different on the sideline, obviously. I know you've done it before, things like that, inter-county probably have a more of appreciation now of what your managers used to be shouting at yourself.
Yeah, you see there, like the Cavan boys when Bruner and number 13, sorry, his name slips from my mind, for Cavan went down and the two of them were battling and their guy was on a yellow card. You know, the boys were pulling them off straight away. So there's cuteness there. There's things to be learning. People think all the learning is on the field, but there's learning on the sideline as well. And you look at the likes of Ryan McMenamin there and the guys, and you try to learn from them as well.
Maybe a word on Leitrim's defensive shape today. I thought it was pretty good in both halves. Cavan 7-8 wides. Is it maybe a sign of their frustration after half time? They're maybe trying to force the envelope a bit early, but maybe they got frustrated and settled into a bit of a rhythm. Then with a pattern, Leitrim got back to 7 apiece.
Yeah, I'd have been very happy. I'm not sure we conceded a goal chance. Oh, we did one goal chance for the Fister over the bar, and that was from our mistake. So I don't think we conceded a goal chance from that side. Like the big thing, our defensive shape was good, which we were working on, of course. But we did create chances up top, and if we were small bit more clinical, we might be having a different conversation. But we'd be happy with the defensive shape and hoping something like we can build on from next week onto the tip game, onto the London game, then after.
And league football, it's all about momentum. You get a chance to build week to week, game to game, and what's going to be the approach? You reckon now heading on tip next weekend?
Yeah, we'll go similar. Hopefully, if everyone fit, I think we'd only one person out through a fitness issue today, which was Evan Sweeney. So we just try to keep. Like the boys have done an incredible job. Guy McCabe, Shane Bowen, them guys have done an incredible job over the last couple of weeks, keeping everyone healthy. And the key is to go to tip with as many healthy players as we can. And as you've seen there today, we ran the bench. We got 5 guys on, and I think they all did really well, to be honest, when they came on. Yeah. Like James Rooney was brilliant when he came on. Quinn, Flynn, Keeney, Pryor, they all done their job when they came on. So it was great to see that in a small county like Leitrim we can put 20 fellas out on the pitch that can all perform in one given day, so why can't we just grow from that?
Tipperary now next week, another big challenge. I don't know how they got on today, but like it's down there, it'll be, it's another challenge, and you'll be hoping the Leitrim fans will come and support us.
It's the consistency of the thing we're trying to improve. I think like under Terry last year, like those patches in games for Leitrim were outstanding. Outstanding. The Antrim game particularly when Sweeney comes off the bench, kicks 1-2, 1-3. Loud the same. We went up 7-6 here in Porkshawn, and then it slips away. So it's that consistency. We need to go to Tipperary next week and produce the same level of energy, and hopefully the crowd comes with us and helps us along the way as well.
Andy, having much experience in Division 4 yourself as a player, what did you feel about did the expectations and the reality match in your head after the game today?
Yeah, I played Cavan, I think, in my second last year playing for my own the league. I think the better's in McHale Park, so it just shows if you're not concentrating on the league where it can end up. And now all of a sudden Cavan find themselves in Division 4. Did it live up to everything I thought? To be honest, our management team would get enthralled in our own team, and we get excited by our own team. And when you see Casey bursting out with the ball, and you see Donal Rinn going man to man with Tom Galligan and All-Star, and doing really well. I think that's where the excitement comes from. So would I look at Division 1, Division 4? Not really. I'd look at our team and see how we're getting on.
In terms of, I suppose, the physicality today, Cavan just seemed to have that little bit extra power. What can Leitrim do, in the short term to counter that against another recent provincial champion?
Well, you can't turn back time. We're working hard on our S&C. I think you can see it by our conditioning. We're working hard on it. I thought Cavan maybe got away with a bit physically. I'm not sure. I'm not fully sure. I agree that they outmuscled us at times. I'm not sure you could say that Bruen, Casey, Jody Rinn, them boys got outmuscled Paul Keeney when he came on. I think they held their own, and I'd be kind of proud of them in that regard. Where I think Cavan made the difference was, you see the kick from the left foot from Lynch there at the last, with the left foot from the sideline. They just had a bit more clinical in front of goal, and I think that's with the wind, and I think that's what was the difference in the game.
Well done today, Andy. Hard luck on the result, and best luck next week.
Thanks very much.
Mark Diffley, disappointing results, I suppose, in the end, but a promising performance in front of a bumper crowd here in Parkshawn today. What's your thoughts?
Look, I suppose it was a good performance overall from the team. We were quite happy with it. I think we gave as good as we got there, and as it's the first day out again, I think we're working on ourselves and we know where we have to go and what we want to go to, but overall the performance was good now. There were a lot of positives there to take in us.
I suppose a big statement today from the management picking the team, with you starting at full back, I suppose with the more experienced Paddy Maguire, who's made this position his own over the last few years, moved out to the corner. Is that a nice vote of confidence from the new management here?
I suppose the management give confidence to everyone. We work really hard on ourselves. They tell us what we have to do. We carry out our jobs. was it fears me friendly with Paddy Ennis, and was it all the lads there, was it we all kind of go in and give each other a dig out when we have to, and was it look at Paddy's a great man to have beside you there, his wealth of experience there and things I can learn off, and that's just want to keep learning and keep getting better.
Big switch then half time. See going in for the throw up in midfield. A bit of an unusual side at this level, but you could duck to water. You didn't seem out of your depth at any stage.
Look, it was at this stage of the game, positions don't really mean too much. So if you want to be playing at top level, you have to be able to play any position. You have to understanding the game and all that. Again, there's lads there like Jordan Rain and more experienced lads that you can learn off and ask questions when you need to be. So we knew that may have been the case before the game. So just about learning off the other lads and just not being afraid to go and do it
What's the mood like in the dressing room after the game?
As I said, we're kind of happy with the performance, so we've done really well. Obviously, we probably just didn't we had them down the stretch. We probably just didn't do enough towards the end in the first half to win the game. But I thought we fought fierce well, and we gave as good as we got. The result obviously didn't go our way, but performance overall is very good.
Of course, Tipperary next week, second 2020 champions, provincial champions in a row. What's it like taking on teams? Because you don't expect to be playing provincial champions or recent provincial champions in Division 4 of the league. It's a tough opener.
They're the games you want to play. We know where we want to get to that level, and I think we showed there today we're not off that level. I think we're just on par with them. I think we could have gone and won that game there today easily if we just kicked on a bit in the first half. But that's what, if you want to play at that level, you want to be that good, you have to beat them. And look at all of us here looking forward to going down to Breifne next week, and probably looking forward to it anyways.
Recently announced as new Leitrim captain, David Bruen, Leitrim Gaels. Congratulations on the appointment, first of all. Your thoughts after the game today?
Initially disappointing, I suppose. We lost the game, so I know we're playing a very good team. Like Cavan are pretty much realistically they're big too deep. But initially it is disappointing. It was in the game. We want to get off on the right foot with a win before, but we move on to next game.
Yeah, tough conditions there today. The rain in the first half didn't help handling issues, and a few mistakes probably cost us opportunities in that first half. I suppose what could have gone better for Leitrim in that respect?
Probably giving away too many scoreable frees around the 25 metres out. Gallagher's going to take them all day long, even against the win. But we look to improve on that next game. But we did create a lot, even with the win, a lot of goal chances. So we'll try to improve on that next game.
In terms of that game next weekend, how much preparation have you done for Tipperary so far? Has all the focus been on this weekend's game?
All the focus on this weekend's game. There's no point getting past Cavan. They're also champions 14 months ago. So we haven't thought of Tipperary at all. We'll move on to them next week.
Of course, they were also provincial champions in that season of 2020. Any little bit of fear at all, or are you confident that performance like today or higher will bring you back a point or two?
Yeah, no fear at all. There's no fear. Like it's a young squad, so there's no fear. I think we're obviously going to respect Tipperary, but if we push on a bit more, we should get the win, and we need the win, I think.
Obviously, on a personal level, first time captain of the county, how much does that mean to you?
It's a proud day for me and the club, I suppose. But I wasn't really focusing too much on that. I was really focusing on the game. So I'll take time to reflect on that. It is nice, but the main focus is the game.
You mentioned the club. I might mention that since we share the same club. Obviously, your two sisters also playing for Leitrim in the ladies' code. But from your own point of view, two clubmates in that defensive unit with you today: Donal Casey ahead of you in centre back, and Brendan Flynn behind you. For the youngest club in the county, it must be nice to have that kind of representation at this level. 20% of the county team coming from, as I said, the youngest club in the county.
Yeah, I don't know. Did we ever have? Maybe we might have had last year with Aidan. We had 3 on it, but it's good. It's good for the club, and it shows the progression in the club. The underage work has been done in the club, but it is proud for the girls.
Well, listen, well done today. Congratulations on the appointment, as I said, and best of luck next week against Tipperary. Now, my next guest requires no introduction to most people who've been following Gaelic games across the county over the last year, whether it's as a footballer with his intermediate championship win inside Dromahair, or with the county hurlers over the last few years, or even as a referee in his debut in the senior championship, football championship that is, last year in one of the early games in Drumshanbo. Martin Feeney, you're welcome back to the programme. Martin, how are you doing?
Hi Breifne, how are you getting on? Thanks for having me on.
I'm great. It's been a while since we've chatted to you. You've been a busy boy. We'll start maybe with the football first and get that out of the way, because we're here to talk about hurling predominantly. But Dromahair champions of everything nearly last year they touched, whether it was the men or the women or the whole shebang. You got very fond of silverware up there in North Leitrim.
Look, we had a really successful year, and it was a really enjoyable year for football, and hopefully let it continue. Keep it going now on to this year as well.
Yeah, the club seem in a really good place at the moment, both on and off the pitch, of course, with the success of their fundraising drive. And I know they gave away a couple of nice holidays there over the Christmas break as well. So, but it's nice to be back playing sports. And of course, Leitrim got off to a great start for the new year with that win 2 weeks ago in the Connacht Senior Shield competition. It's a new kind of pre-season competition from the Connacht Council, but a good performance against Roscommon, a victory against Mayo, the first competitive victory in, I believe, over 4 decades against the Mayo side. Nice for a little vote of confidence, even if the competition isn't maybe the elite focus for the year.
Look, really good competition set up by Connacht GAA there, and good opportunity for us to play in the new Connacht Air Dome there as well, like on full-size pitch inside. You wouldn't think you'd be playing hurling in it, but honestly, it was probably the best conditions ever to play hurling in. So no wind or rain. When you usually go to Ballyhonus, it's usually like that, but with that new indoor facility, it's fantastic. And obviously, the 2 games we got to play were really good. Good to test ourselves against 2 teams who are 2 tiers above us in championship at the minute. So they're in the Christie Ring, Roscommon and Mayo, and we were really competitive in both games. And we were quite unlucky against Roscommon, and then we kind of carried on over how we were playing in the second half of the Roscommon game to the Mayo game and kind of dominated that game from the start. I know they would have been a bit depleted with their Taurine fellas missing, but it was still good to get a competitive game and a win as well. So that was the main aim.
Yeah, in terms of those kind of competitions, how important is it to get those opportunities to play at teams that are just that notch or 2 further up the ladder than yourselves? Because I suppose you're so used to playing the Longfords, the Cavans, the Sligos at the junior level, the Nicky Racker level and the Laurie Mara level, to get that opportunity to take that little step forward, even if it is at a kind of second-ish string, just to test yourselves and gauge where you're at.
Look, it's a really good step up, and I think we generally rise to the occasion, or the team or the opposition that we do play. So no matter what level they're at, we kind of rise up to them. And in terms of Roscommon, we never really have had the chance to play Roscommon maybe in the last 10 years or so, and we were really up for that game as well. So it's good to play these different teams in Connacht. They might bring in Galway sometime as well. That would be funny, but I will leave that for another year.
Maybe a Galway junior team perhaps might be, they'd probably still be the favourites to win it. But I suppose Roscommon, going back to my memory now, it goes back a bit further than yours, but Roscommon would have actually competed in a Connacht senior final in the last 20-25 years on a regular basis against Galway. Now, they wouldn't have been too competitive, but they would have been at that level. And to see Leitrim now taking them on, running them close to 3 points, it must be a real good vote of confidence within the squad, and just in terms of where you're at and how far you can take this squad over the next couple of seasons.
Well, it kind of shows where we're going, and we're going in the right direction, and condition-wise, we're well able to keep with them, both teams. And that was generally an area that we needed to improve on from last year and the last few years in general. So we have Andy Lyons in now on board as a strength and conditioning coach, and he's doing a lot of work with us, and it's really paying off now. And we're not stopping, so we know where we're at now at the minute, but we need to have a lot more levels to get to if we want to be successful and really drive it on even more. And I think this is really important for us to drive on as a team anyways.
I suppose one of the real nice things to see in the sport across the county over the last maybe 5 to 10 years particularly is the rise of Clooney. And of course, last year, one of the little successes we didn't mention, I shouldn't even say little successes, one of the successes we didn't mention at the introduction was, of course, Glencar Manor, Clooney and Eamonn winning the Senior Hurling Championship. Nice to kind of get that under your belt as well, but they really are providing a real backbone to that team that has probably relied on St. Mary's or Carrick Hurling just a little bit too much over the last 2 or 3 decades. It's nice to see a real coming together of both those squads in the Leitrim jersey.
Yeah, look, there's a really good mix of Carrick and Clooney and Eamonn in the team now, so it's nearly kind of getting to near half and half, but there's still quite a few more than Carrick players. But every year, to be honest, the club championship, I know it's only 1 game and 1 final, but to be honest, it's a really competitive game, and the last 3 years it's been going to extra time. It's only been 1 point wins, and it's constantly nip or tuck, and then it's good after that to come in together as a team and work together with all these players and then drive it on together. And hopefully this year, as I said to you before we went live, our aim will be to drive on together and win the league and championship this year.
Yeah, no, it's important because I suppose I saw 2 of those 3 finals, not the one you won, funny enough, but the 2 previous ones. And I think even any of the neutrals and probably even some of the Carrick players and staff would agree that you probably should have won both days, and they just had that little bit extra time on both of those occasions. So it's been coming. You've been knocking on that door for a couple of years. But I suppose that brings us to where we are now, looking forward to the National League campaign. Of course, Division 3B of the league this year. You're in with Lancashire, Cavan, Longford and Fermanagh. First up is a clash with Lancashire this weekend on in Dublin. They've to come in. Obviously, that's part of the COVID issue that you can't ask every team to go over and back, but they're going to be back and forth and like yo-yos, I suppose, to play their games in Abbottstown. This weekend, what's the I suppose the outlook going into that game? Confident of putting up a good show, maybe getting a result in that game?
To be honest, we have no idea what they're going to be bringing over because they haven't been in the competition for the last 2 years due to COVID. But we did play them 2 or 3 years ago over there, and they've come over a lot as well. And in general, we have got the better of them on most occasions. And I think it's really important to set the stall out straight away. First game of the league, get the win. So our main intention is to go up there, put the performance in, and I believe, and all the management and the team itself believes that we're going to win that game.
I suppose, given the disappointment of last year's league campaign without a victory, what's the realistic plan for this year? What's the hope? What can be delivered? Can we beat some of these teams? Can we challenge for promotion? Where are the mindset within the squad and management at the moment?
Well, to be honest, we started the year off really well in our challenge games and also in the competition in the Connacht Dome as well. And our aim this year is to get the league and championship double. In terms of the league itself, we have some really tough games in the league there this year. As you mentioned, the 4 different teams you have to play. Starting off with Lancashire is a difficult one, but it's good to get that over and under our belt in a really fast pitch, which will suit us up in Abbottstown. I know it'll be quite different when we go back down to Park Sean and different places like that, but to play there in the first game, it's really important. We've already got a challenge game there, so we're kind of used to the facilities and the area itself and the pitch. And we played there 2 years ago and against Lancashire as well and got a good result against them. So I'm hoping for that again, and we're quietly confident as well.
Of course, some of the Leitrim lads even based in Dublin, yourself included. So it's almost more of a home game than actually playing in the county here at the moment. Talk to me a little bit about the general spirit within the squad and any new arrivals in that maybe fans might not have seen in the county jersey at senior level before.
So at the minute, morale is very high in the camp, and everything seems to be going to plan. We have a good structure to our sessions with our new coach in from Galway. He's from Portumna, so we have Joe in, and we also have Enda Lyons in as well in the backroom team as the S&C coach. So that's been a really big help, and it's really been quite eye-opening to see how unfit we were at the start of the year when we started in December, and how much we've improved in six to 8 weeks already. So our fitness is really a big thing that we wanted to target, as I mentioned, and it's something we're improving on. In terms of some of the new arrivals in the team, we have a couple of new young lads coming into the team, and we have a lad from Dublin as well that's coming to the team. So his name's Joe Murray. So he's had an instant impact already on the team. So he had 2 good games there in the Dome. So it really suited him as a corner forward to be playing there. And I think he scored about 115 there against Mayo. So he took a lot of plaudits, and he's well deserved. He works really hard in training, and he's a nice lad as well. So good to have him on board this year.
Excellent. In terms of your own time commitments and everything, you play a bit of soccer as well. I know with Drumahare, and we talked about the refereeing and the hurling and the football. How do you manage to keep it all up? We hear about the dual player kind of dying off, but you're not just a dual player. You've a triple threat and the refereeing as well. How do you manage to juggle everything and not constantly disappoint teammates or squads when you're not available for games, when they clash?
To be honest, the new structure that's come in really suits the kind of dual players at the minute, so, and the kind of county players and club players. So playing off the county season for the first 5 to 6 months, and then you get the time to then focus on your club for the further 6 months then in the latter of the year. So that's really helpful for me personally. So at the minute, I'm just personally just focusing on solely on hurling. So as the target I said would be the league and championship. So that's my pure focus at the minute, just playing hurling. I do like to play soccer as well, so it's just for the local club there in Dromahare. It's only newly established in the last 2 years. So generally in the off season I would play that as well, which is quite enjoyable, something different, good to mix it up. And then for Gaelic, in terms of that, luckily enough, I know the club's season will be starting up now towards the end of February with challenge matches and trainings coming back. But the main kind of competitions won't start until county finishes, which is good for me. So I get to come back into the team, and I should bring a good level of fitness already from the hurling. So I would hopefully, after a few trainings, get back into the team.
I think you'll
know
get
it's
back
quite
in the
competitive
team
this year. Yeah.
I think you'll get back in the team. You'll be all right up there in Dromahare. They need someone to keep that ball over the bar. Well, listen, Martin, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you again. The best of luck against Lancashire at the weekend up there in Abbottstown. Do you know the situation of tickets? I'm sure people can go along and watch the game if they want.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they can go up to the game, all right. I'm not sure if there's going to be tickets up online like they do now. I think they've gone away with paying at the door kind of way, but it will be announced on the Leitrim GAA page anyways in the next few days.
Keep an eye on all the Leitrim GAA social medias for all of that sort of stuff, and they'll keep you informed as they always do. Martin, thanks very much for joining us. Best luck on Saturday and for the rest of the season.
Thanks a million, Breifne. Talk to you again.
Of course, here on the podcast, we like to take a look at the ladies' game in the county, and representing the county, of course, is the senior girls. The small matter, it might have passed you by over the last 2 months, but Leitrim actually won the Intermediate Connacht Championship, a nice victory over local rivals Roscommon just before Christmas. And Hugh Donnelly, the manager of the Leitrim senior team, joins us. Hugh, welcome back.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us again. Yeah.
It did kind of creep up on people because it just kind of happened. It was a game in Park Sean, a one-game championship effectively, because Sligo didn't field against Leitrim, and Leitrim went on to win the championship. Nice to get silverware. What's your thoughts looking back on it now, a couple of weeks later?
Yeah, look, it's always nice to win any competition, but for us, I suppose, for the hard yards that we have done this last number of years, and for everybody that has committed to it, it was great to get a little bit of silverware, because I suppose, you know, we are progressing and people can see that and people know that, and you know, it's there in abundance, but sometimes you need that material object, you need that, you know, cup to take home with you. So yeah, listen, it was lit started in terms of the championship. Roscommon played Sligo, beat Sligo. Sligo had a number of club teams out, I think, that following weekend then was in the Connacht Championship, so they didn't fail. So we ended up playing Roscommon a straight shootout. So in Park Sean. So yeah, look, we'll take it all day long. It's been quite a while since we won an intermediate championship. So yeah, we're delighted, and it set us up nicely now moving into the new year.
Yeah, because I don't think people really expected it to happen. Maybe summer, but were you training the whole way up to that, or what was the routine in the build up to that game? Did you pull the girls in early for next season, effectively?
No, not really. We, you know, there was an interest. There was an email sent out by Connacht, and they were, you know, they quizzed us on the counties in terms of would we be interested in fielding for the Connacht Championship. I think it's because most other provinces got their championship played, and for me, it's always nice to play your own provincial championship, and it's always a nice, cup to get. So in terms of it's your own province, so and we said yeah, we'd be interested, and then look, listen, between I suppose with the Monaghan girls pushing on and doing as well as they did, and St. Joe's girls, we were kind of late starting, and then we just used it then as a kind of a half pre-season. We used it to take a look at players, and we brought in new players, we brought in a little bit of youth, and we brought in some experienced players, and yeah, it snowballed from there. We went and we won it, and it set us up, as I said, nicely for the new year.
Yeah, it does build that little bit of confidence as well in the squad. In terms of the new additions to the team, without maybe naming all the names out there, who's come in that's impressed you that we're likely to see a bit of in the upcoming league campaign?
Yeah, look, to be honest, we've probably 12 or 14 in terms of just a blend of youth and experience. The girls have come back who were previously out of the country and were travelling and things like that, so they've come back in. And then we have a pile of the minors that come up, and that's what we were trying to do. We were trying to blood and a little bit of youth to have that, and it keeps the gears ticking by also in terms of the previous gears that was there on the previous pound. So yeah, look, it's great because what has happened this last probably 3 or 4 weeks in terms of, I think there's a general consensus now that we are moving in the right direction, and people actually now want to represent Leitrim Ladies again, and there's serious competition now. We had strength and depth last year and in the last 2 years, but this year again, it's colossal. We have actually now kind of matched in terms of strength and depth, and then it's like for like in terms of who we may have to replace and the person that's coming on. So training this last 5 or 6 weeks has been absolutely brilliant. There's real competition, and players are looking forward to getting involved. So you need that youth. Some of the girls that's come in, they're chomping at the bit. They've absolutely no fear, and they're pushing each other on, and they're pushing the older generation on, and which is great because we needed that. So yeah, it's left for a very easy pre-season because we've had a few challenge games, and we played a challenge game last Sunday, and we made 13 changes at half time, and somebody made the comment that the standard didn't drop. So that was a real indicator of where we're at, because when you make so many changes, sometimes the standard can drop, but in fact, if anything, it maintained it and even rose. So yeah, look, it's great to get so many players representing the county again.
Yeah, I suppose you talk about all the new additions to the team every new season. There's also a few departures. I know Alva Clancy is going travelling in the very near future, or if she's not already gone, and so she might not be part of the squad this year. Won't be part of the squad in the short term at least. Anyone else that we can expect maybe not to see that we would have seen in recent years?
No, anybody that's kind of committed to the thing. Alva made it very clear to me early on that she had other plans, and that's fine. She's she soldiered for a long time, and she was a great servant to us last year. So life as it is, these things crop up, and people have to live their lives, and that's we wish her the very best in terms of. And look, listen, if her plans change, she's we've made it very clear that we've. But say that's. We've a pretty settled panel now. We're still carrying quite a large panel, which again allows us for injuries. We've maybe 3 or 4 gears carrying injuries, 1 or 2 longer term injuries. But overall, no, we've a really settled panel, and we have a few gears, as I said, who just with injuries and stuff will not be involved in the early future now coming into the National League. But look, listen, hopefully we can clear them up and it'll leave us a little bit stronger then moving forward.
Yeah, one of those players struggling with injury at the moment is Muireann Devaney. Of course, she played dual status last year, playing with Leitrim and with Athlone Town in the Women's National League in soccer. I know she's re-signed for Athlone this year. Will she be part of your plans as well?
Yeah, well, look, listen, the big thing is we've been in communication and we've talked now on numerous occasions, and the first thing that we have to do is get the injuries. She's no use to Athlone Town or us if she doesn't get them settled. So that's the first thing. She's got to be given time to get them injuries to bed. So listen, soccer is our first preference in terms of that's which is fine. We've been in communication and have done this last number of weeks. So if the opportunity arises to represent Leitrim, she will. She's made that clear, and she would like to do that. But it's I'm not even contemplating that at the minute until we get her injury and other injuries cleared up, because as I said, she's no benefit to anybody standing on the sideline. So primarily it's important that we get them injuries sorted.
Yeah, I suppose one other thing, listeners who aren't familiar with the ladies' game probably might not be aware of, I suppose, how prevalent switching codes is in the ladies' game. Female athletes have options, whether it's rugby or soccer. We've seen that with the likes of Hannah Johnson, has moved to Dublin to play her rugby, and others have obviously well-trodden paths to soccer over the years, whether it's Dervla Byrne or Alva Clancy herself or Muireann. Sligo Rovers have launched a new team this year. Haven't seen any Leitrim names announced just yet, but is that a worry? Is that a concern in terms of maybe being an attractive proposition for the likes of Leah Fox as well, who has played underage National League before?
It's funny you could say that, because Steve Feeney, the guy who took over with the Sligo, the first team, I work with him in Ballymonagh with the soccer myself, so I have him well warned off to keep his hands well off our Leitrim gear. So No, listen, I know Steve really well, and again, if anyone did ever have to switch schools or want to switch schools, then I have a really good working relationship with Steve as well. So it's like everything else, it all boils down to communication, and it's making sure that that everybody can get the benefit of their players if and when needed. So no, initially I'm not overly worried, because as I said, it's I know Steve fairly well, so he's been well marshalled already. So.
Yeah, I did watch one of their preseason games. I didn't see any recognisable faces that would normally be in green and gold. So I think we're safe on that score for the time being, at least. In terms of the actual football, though, I suppose we come into this season now with that Connacht Championship boost just before Christmas. The league starts in just 10 days now, I think, a trip to Fermanagh, up towards your direction. What's I suppose the outlook? It's 4 teams in the division. We got to the final of Division 4 last year, probably an unlucky start against Louth, so it's not have enough in the tank just to close that gap by the end of the game. But can we get out of Division 4? Do we have to get out of Division 4 for the work that's gone in with this group of players?
Yeah, look, listen, I think it's our aspirations to do that, and I think the fact that we've been there now and have that experience, we know exactly what it's going to take now, and how important not just starting a game is, but obviously closing out games. So in terms of, unless the fixtures have changed, I hope we're home to Fermanagh. I think we are actually home to Fermanagh. Yeah. So I thought you maybe were prevalent to information that I didn't have. So, but yeah, we're home to. Yeah, we're home to Fermanagh. So look, and they have went through transition and they're under new management. So, and what has happened up there has been well documented. So we're under no illusions what Fermanagh is going to bring. James Daly will set them up, and he'll have them working really hard. So, we cannot take anything for granted. So, we've got to get past Fermanagh first. They'll bring the intensity. They're always hard enough to beat, and they're enough. They're a tough nut to crack in terms of, we just about got across the line last year in terms of the championship with them. So they'll bring a serious intensity to it, and as I said, James will have them well organised. But in terms of their overall aspirations, yeah, look, we want to go one step further. We don't want to have last year, we have a lot of regrets. I personally a lot of regrets. I think we left it behind us. So it's really important that we focus one step at a time. And I personally am not looking past Fermanagh, because, as I said, on any given day they'll give you enough bother. So, but it's good to get back into competitive football. It's good to get, you can play all the challenge games you want. You can play all the in-house games you want. You can't beat that competitive edge in terms of what it brings. So we're looking forward to it. I think the Gears are looking forward to it. It's back on the road again, and you're trying to redeem, I suppose, the wrongs of last year. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. The Gears are looking forward to it.
Well, listen, I'm sure we'll be following your progress through the league and eventually the championship later in the year. Hugh, it's been a pleasure as always. Thanks for joining us, and the very best of luck for the season ahead.
No problem. One last thing, Breifne, if at all possible. We have kind of launched a lot of we've just kind of done a fundraising drive in terms of sponsorship. So can I just say a special thank you to all the businesses and all the individuals who have sponsored the players. We've went kind of with a different initiative this year for raising funds. So listen, just a massive thank you to everybody that is, with the current climate and things like that. I know it's every euro counts. So listen, I just want to say a special thanks to all the players, number one, for going out and getting the sponsorship, and number two, for the businesses and individuals who have sponsored. So thanks a million, just.
Absolutely vital to keep the show on the road. Funds badly needed, as we're going to hear later in the programme from Eamonn Duignan. Hugh, thanks very much. Best of luck on Sunday week.
No problem. Thanks a million, Breifne. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Now, leaving the game on Sunday afternoon, I bumped into a very familiar face to anyone who's been following Leitrim since probably the mid-70s or so. A former player, of course, one of the founders of the Supporters Club 35 years ago. I'm joined now by Eamonn Duignan. Eamonn, you're very, very welcome to the show again.
Thank you very much, Breifne. It's good to be able to talk to you again, and good the football is back up and running.
Absolutely, you said it. Let's start maybe with the football then. Of course, Sunday afternoon, Cavan, neighbours Cavan in town in Park Sean McDermott, a bumper crowd, conditions we won't talk about. But despite defeat, not a bad performance from the lads. What were your thoughts after the game?
Yeah, well, my first thoughts were exactly what you said there, Breifne, going into the match. The wind and the rain and the conditions don't suit Leitrim. But on the game itself, every supporter saw huge commitment by all the players, total effort, and certainly huge progress within the team. So we had a few chances, but scores came easier to Cavan. So overall, the supporters were very positive about it, and we're heading to Semple Stadium on Sunday, and I'm confident that we'll beat Tip. And if we beat Tip, we're back in the game big time, because that's now a huge game for us.
Of course, the mood in the ground after the game, very, very different to maybe the mood around the county all those few months ago in McHale Park when our championship season was ended by Mayo last year. Can you even compare the two, I suppose, the ways that people are looking at the football team in the county right now?
Well, I was at the game in Mayo, and I know exactly what you're talking about, but you can't compare it. It's certainly been fairly close to it. There's a panel of 40 players that have totally bought into Andy and Michael there as the management team, and really everyone is aligned now. Breifne, the county board, the team, the supporters, and the fundraising. So we're all on one path, and certainly Leitrim football is really in a good place. And the one thing we need now is just patience, because we have the management team, the players are totally committed, and we have the players for the first time in a long time. So it's about just keeping the financial support behind them, because in fact, I don't know if you saw there, but during the week, Martin Breifne had a table in the Irish Independent, and the team expenditure of the Leitrim team was the third lowest of all counties. So it does require huge resources to prepare our county teams, and we're preparing the seniors, under 20s and under 17s. But we must come in now and support this management team, because they are unbelievably committed to getting Leitrim some success, getting out of Division 4, getting up Division 3. But be patient, and it will come. It will come.
You mentioned a couple of words in there that give me lovely little segues into what we're actually going to talk about today. You mentioned the finances and the word path in there as well. And one of the highlights for me on Sunday was looking around the crowd, around the ground, just from the press box above everybody, the number of yellow hats. And that's going to be part of what we talk about too, on display through the crowd. It was a lovely little feeling. But tell us where all those things come together in the 50-mile challenge that's just completed on Monday of this week. We'll talk about how people can still get involved, but the first 31 days of the year, everyone in the county out walking, wearing their yellow hat, and it's raised a massive amount of money for that preparation that you spoke about for the county teams. 141,000 so far. But tell us maybe about the challenge and where it came from and the origin of it.
Okay, I just go back to where it started last year. We had our first challenge. Adrian O'Flynn, who's a former county footballer, was introduced to us by Colin Regan. Now, Adrian is a professional fundraiser. I mean, that's what he does in his day job, and he does a lot of fundraising for charities. So he came to us and offered his services as a social media fundraiser. So in fact, it's a technology-based fundraiser. So he met with Pádraig White, Mike Feeney, and myself here in Dublin, presented what he thought would work for us. We said, that looks good. We took it to the county board, and they approved it. So the challenge is a technology fundraiser. Now, with technology, you need expertise. And Leitrim are blessed to have Brendan Doyle as our IT officer. Now, Brendan, as you know, maintains the website and all the IT issues of the county board. And he's always in the background. But the success of the challenge has a lot to do with Brendan Doyle. So the beauty of IT, to go back to the IT, it facilitates the Leitrim diaspora all over the world to keep in touch with Leitrim and be part of it. And that's why the challenge has been a success. The challenge is all inclusive. It wasn't just Leitrim GAA. And as part of the challenge, people last year posted up photographs and some videos of the areas that were walking in. And this gave people around Leitrim information that they wouldn't normally have, and basically encouraged them to say, I must go and visit parts of Leitrim I've never been. And Leitrim Tourism, when they saw the effect of this, they became our partner in this year's challenge. So, and the Leitrim Tourism input to this challenge was significant because they had 5 ambassadors who did promotional videos for us: Carol Coleman, Ronan Hazlitt, Porrick White, and Charlie McGettigan, and Detta McNiff. And of course, we had the famous Seamus O'Rourke, who did his piece on the Late called Walk On. And this just, it got momentum from all these things, but they were hugely significant. Go ahead.
You've some big figures you want to get out there as well in terms of the reach of this, both in terms of the participants and the people who've donated and made up. At the moment, as we're talking, it's just over 140,000. We expect it to finish somewhere a little bit closer to 150,000 when everything is said and done. Tell us about maybe how many countries, how many counties across the island we actually featured in here as Leitrim people doing what we can for our county team.
Okay, I'll go back to your hats first, and we had a great debate of how many hats we needed. So we got 1,700 hats produced. 200 went to New York, and 1,500 were distributed in Ireland and across Europe. Now, in Ireland alone, Leitrim people walked in 27 out of the 32 counties. The hats, people registered for the hats, so the hats were sent to 9 different countries. 9 different countries, and donations were received from 58 different countries. So that just shows you the power of technology, the power of the diaspora, and it's evidence really that the challenge is an IT fundraiser. But the challenge, while it was a fundraiser, it's promotes our county both within and without, and people will see places they want to go to. But it also, and this was why Leitrim Tourism saw great potential in it, it also promotes Leitrim as a place to relocate and to work. And post-COVID now, Breifne, the office is not the only place you can work. If you were to pick a county where you could work and bring up a family, there's no better county than Leitrim, as both of us know.
You never can turn that off. Eamonn. We're running out of time, and I know we've loads to get through, so I'm going to cut you a little bit short if that's all right. There was 27 counties as well, participants from in the island of Ireland, so it wasn't just about getting out around the highways and byways of Leitrim. New York City also featured fairly heavily, and there was a big crowd there. I know Seamus Clark, obviously sponsor of the county team, but himself and his good wife have been really rowed in behind, and a huge group in New York have taken to this as well.
Yeah, and it took a snow blizzard to stop Seamus and Katrina from having
some of them, not all of them, stopped. Some of them still went ahead despite the weather warning.
You're absolutely correct, and that were to have their walk on Sunday last in Tippett's Park there in Yonkers. But that's now rescheduled to the 12th of February. So Seamus and Katrina and the Leitrim supporters in New York have been a huge help. And they have, Seamus asked for 200 hats. So that'll be worth seeing when they do their walk on the 12th of February.
Absolutely. Tell us about some of your favorite moments from the last 31 days from the social media posts that have gone up. And there's been thousands of them. Everybody posting every day. It's been really nice to kind of just be part of that and see it going along. COVID wiped me out, unfortunately, but I am going to do it through the month of February myself. But talk about some of the highlights you've had watching people and your own experience over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, again, part of the challenge is people telling their stories on Facebook, and Irish people love the stories. But one story that started on the committee was our own Mike Feeney, who had a double hip operation in November. He said to the consultant after the operation he was planning to do a 50-mile challenge in January, and the poor consultant thought that he was going to do 50 miles in one day in January. So Mike convinced him anyway. No, it was over the month, and the consultant thought it might be possible, but knowing Mike Feeney, everything is possible. He did the walk and is now walking around without crutches, and he's all set. Myself and himself are going to Thurles next Sunday. So that's one story close to home. A lady in Mohill there, Claire McLaughlin, she told me she wanted to look sharp for her daughter's wedding in April. And the other exercise that we did, Porrick White, Mike Feeney and myself, we met Declan Darcy at Clonagale Fontenoy. and we walked from Clonagale Fontenoy across to Liffey to Croke Park, where we were met by another Leitrim player, Colin Regan, and we walked up the steps of the presentation area in Croke Park. So we're hoping the Leitrim players will follow us, Breifne, in that regard.
Maybe later in the year we'll have a trip to Croke Park, and
someone
else from Leitrim will be making that trip up the stairs to accept some form of a trophy. Will it be Sam? Well, we won't hold our breath, but we'll maybe we might see a Charlton Cup or something like that, or a league title potentially later in the year. In terms of Sunday, though, I mentioned the hats around the ground. It was great, but despite the really, really poor weather conditions, a group of people did meet at the Bush Hotel to make that final walk for the challenge to the ground. Poorly affected by weather, I'm sure, but a few hardy souls did manage to make that little distance.
Yeah, we had a few former county players and a few diehards did make the walk from the Bush Hotel, but what was hugely significant for me was just in the hotel, in the Bush Hotel, we're talking to Joe Dolan, and Joe's hotel was packed Saturday night. The restaurant was packed for breakfast Sunday morning, all because of the match and the Cavan supporters down for the weekend. So that to me it's great to be back to some sort of pre-COVID normality, and it's hopefully the start now of us all being out and about and enjoying or going to our games, and let's hope Leitrim winning a few and giving us all something to shout about, because I also want Breifne just at this point is to thank all the supporters who donated to the challenge and all who took part in the challenge, because Leitrim GAA cannot continue without the support of its supporters. So we owe everything to our supporters, and when it comes to supporters, and I know your time restricted, but when it comes to funding a county board, Leitrim is one of the few where fundraising is the main fundraiser to support the team. So we're in a league of our own in that regard, and it's something that we can all be proud of.
Absolutely, and of course, on that note, just to let people know, the challenge might be finished technically. It might not be January anymore, but it is still possible to make a donation, and all those links will be in the descriptions here. But if you go to the Leitrim GAA website, you'll find all those links as well. I think it's going to be open for a couple of weeks anyway, while the New York event happens on the 12th of February. But we won't turn away any money if people want it in terms of Leitrim GAA. All is greatly accepted. So if you want to get in touch, just Google Leitrim 50 Mile Challenge. You'll find the link. But please support your friends and family who did it. Pay it through their pages as well. Give them a little bit of a kudos and a boost for that as well. Eamon, I think that's probably all we have time for today. Thank you very much on what's been a relatively exciting week, despite the defeat for the footballers at the weekend. We go into Tipperary with a bit of kind of optimism about what's possible. Considering they were Munster champions just 15 months ago, that speaks volumes about where Andy and his team have taken this squad of players in the last couple of months.
Yeah, and we go to Tipperary with confidence, because it was a really good performance on Sunday, and if we can carry that same performance and same level of commitment and physicality and effort, then I'd be really disappointed, Breifne, if we don't win on Sunday.
Absolutely. Well, Eamon, thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure we'll see you either in Park Sean or further afield over the next few months. Talk to you very, very soon.
Okay, thank you, Breifne, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about the challenge.
My pleasure. And that, folks, is it for the first episode back of Season 2 of the Leitrim GAA Podcast here on finalwhistle.ie. Thanks for joining us for this week. To everyone who made themselves available, to Andy Moran, David Bruen, Mark Diffley from the senior team, from Martin Feeney of the Hurlers, Hugh Donnelly of the Ladies, and also to Eamonn Duignan of the Supporters Club. Thanks to all of them. We'll be back next week with another show after Leitrim's trip to Tipperary this weekend. It's a long, long way to Tipperary. It will only be 7 days before we're back with you again. Talk to you next week.